And this video is quite a bit different than most of my other videos. Trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about child abuse, pedophiles, molestation, so if any of those things are triggering for you, you should probably not watch this video, but I won't be going into extreme detail. I'm going to be talking about more of like the psychological aspects of this stuff. I'm not making this video for sympathy. I don't want sympathy. I don't want people to see me as broken as I see myself. And so making this video is very difficult for me. I've recorded it maybe 4 times already and just haven't uploaded it, so I'm trying again. I have really complicated feelings about this. I have really complicated emotions tied to all of this, but I want to make this video for people who feel the way that I do. For people who are struggling with these emotions, who wonder if they're alone in this, because they're not. You're not alone. I feel like there is so much stigma attached to being a victim of sexual abuse, especially when you were a child when it happened. And that is so unfair. That is unbelievably unfair. And the reason that that stigma is allowed to exist is because we perpetuate it by not talking about these things, by keeping them in the dark, by pushing them aside. And so I'm just going to talk about it. As uncomfortable as it makes people, as uncomfortable as it makes me sometimes, I just need to talk about it. It's really bizarre that it can feel so isolating to be a victim of childhood sexual abuse when 1 in 10 children are abused sexually before they turn 18, and 90% of the perpetrators are someone they know. And thinking about that gets me to thinking about, okay, obviously this is a really pervasive problem in our society, so how do we stop it? And I truly believe that the answer lies in mental health. So I've obviously been through a ton of therapy. It has been helpful. Has it completely healed me from what happened? No. I don't know if I'll ever completely get there. I think people are capable, with the right kind of mental health care, with the right treatment plan, with the right kind of support and love and affection that they don't always get, that is not always accessible or available or easy to find. I think with those things, you can heal from this. I've definitely made a lot of progress in my own mental health journey in regards to being abused when I was a kid, but then there are other things that happen along the way that also re-victimize you and drag up these old feelings and memories and emotions, or trigger flashbacks or what have you. I was molested by a family friend, my best friend's father. My family was very close with their family. It happened at sleepovers. The several instances were from age 6 through age 7, and the reason I can't say definitively was because I blocked out those memories for years. I didn't remember them. I had a head injury. I had a pretty severe head injury when I was 21. And after that, I started having really graphic, severe flashbacks. And I wish that my young mind had been capable of remembering before then, because then I could have gotten into therapy at a younger age and I could have dealt with it better, and I could have been given the tools to stop it from shaping my psyche in such a profound way. I don't remember who I told first. I think I told one of my sisters first, and she told me that he had molested my friend, his daughter, and several of her friends, and he had gone to prison. I guess his wife had divorced him just prior to that, and she, when the news came out, she called my parents to let them know what had happened and to express her concerns that maybe something happened to me. Up until I was about 6 or 7, I had been a really happy, laid back, just super mellow little kid. Not a lot of things really upset me. I was a chill kid, which is interesting because, like, as an adult, I have zero chill. I have no chill left, the least chill of any person on the planet. I will never be described as cool or laid back by anyone. Later on, when I was talking to my mom about this, she said it was like overnight something had happened and I was depressed and they didn't know what to do about it. And then they found out about this, about what had happened with my friend. And so they decided to take me to a therapist. She was actually a friend of the family as well. And I remember this vaguely. I remember having a session with her and just talking, and no one really told me why we were there or what we were doing there. I think I just thought we were there to talk, like maybe my parents had to go somewhere and for some reason I needed to chill with Mrs. Fry. I don't really know. It was not a profound experience. It was very laid back, and I think she was just feeling out the situation and seeing if she got any indication that there had been any sexual abuse, and at that point maybe there would have been treatment. But I think from her standpoint, I guess, there wasn't really any cause for concern. There were instances later on when I would talk to my friends about penises or like pornographic things that were not normal. And after that, I realized, oh, these things are really not normal. Kids don't know about sex, kids don't know about porn, they don't know about sexual acts. This is wrong and horrible, and I'm a disgusting person. That was my takeaway from that. And I think I remember like one conversation with my parents where, you know, they were trying to figure out why I was saying these things or why I knew about these things, and they expressed to me that they were inappropriate, and I don't think that they had these conversations in an incorrect way, but my takeaway from it was I'm abnormal, I'm inappropriate, I'm perverted, I'm broken. And once I saw those things in myself, even though I didn't know where they came from or why I was like that, I forever, for the rest of my life, have felt like I was missing out on an innocence that I should have had. And it was like on some level, in regards to this sex shit, I was an adult in a little kid's body and I was just trying desperately to blend in and failing. And I don't blame anyone for making me feel that way except for that predator. It's his fault. It's only his fault. It's not my parents' fault for not realizing what happened or not pushing the issue further. It's not the therapist's fault for not thinking that there was anything wrong. How can you really know? How can you really know? I didn't have memories, and they weren't going to ask me leading questions that could then create false memories, because that's just as harmful. So from a very early age, I knew that I was different in this way, and I hated myself for it. I knew that I wasn't normal. I felt broken and dirty and disgusting and ruined. And I just wanted to be like the other kids. I felt like an imposter just being a child. So when my memories of these incidents started coming back, I initially didn't have full memories. Now I have like memories of maybe 2 or 3 minutes of individual things that happened, and I think it happened 2 or 3 times, but I can't be 100% sure. And I did a lot of work in therapy. I did a lot of work trying to make those pieces feel better, trying to reprocess these things, trying to comfort my former self and deal with it in that way. Both of the therapists that I've had that I've worked on this issue with have agreed that I don't remember these things because it's part of my psyche protecting me.
I can't handle it, I guess, completely, and so my mind only gives me bits and pieces of these memories, and I can process that, and I can deal with that, and I can make that better. But whatever else is hidden might always be hidden, or bits and pieces of it might come up as I'm capable of handling it. And I don't know if I've just had a really stressful decade. It feels like it's been a really stressful decade. It's always just one thing after another that I'm dealing with, and maybe that's why I don't completely remember it. We don't really know. I don't really know what to expect. But so far I've done all that I can with these memories, and I don't know if I expect it to ever not hurt. I think that would be really weird if it ever just felt okay, because it's not okay. But it definitely gets better the more that you work on it, and it's work. It's really hard work reprocessing these things and dealing with them and having to examine them up close and examine ways in which they've affected the rest of my life. Because porn was involved in these situations, I don't like pornography. And I try to not let this skew my perception of porn as a whole. I'm not really pro-censorship. I don't think that if, we have free will. I don't think that porn should be outlawed or restricted from people who want to access it. I do think that people should be made aware that certain types of pornography can be really emotionally damaging to you depending on the content. And I do think people should be aware, this is a whole other issue, but they should be aware that what they see in porn is not a realistic depiction of a relationship or a sexual encounter. It's just not. And I don't think that porn makes people into predators, but every predator I've encountered, and I think a lot of victims can speak to this, they've all been addicted to porn. They all have. And there's a pretty significant correlation there that I think needs to be examined a little bit more in depth. It's impacted my relationship with my own body. It's impacted me sexually. I do what I can. I've made a lot of progress, and I'll probably continue to make progress, but I don't know if, as I unearth more memories, if that will affect me physically or sexually or in any of these ways that I've already dealt with. And honestly, saying these things to you, the internet, is horrifying to me. It feels terrifying. On many levels, making this video feels like a mistake, but I think that has more to do with how I see myself, and I think that has a lot to do with the social stigma around being a victim of sexual abuse, which is part of what I'm trying to work against by putting this out there. I don't want to feel ashamed of these things because they're not my fault, and feeling ashamed of this only empowers the predator. It sounds horrible, but I think that this happened when I was so young, and that I went so many years without realizing why I felt this way. That this self-hatred that I felt, that I still feel, just became part of who I am. And I don't know how to make that go away. I might never figure that out, but self-hatred is at the very core of who I am as a person. It would be great if no other kid ever had to feel that again. So this guy, this human garbage, went to jail, and then by the time I did remember what happened, I felt like pursuing charges of any kind and having to see him in court and going through all of that crap. And my psychiatrist and psychologist both agreed with me on this, that would probably be more harmful to me than ensuring that he went back to prison. And here's why. He went to jail, he paid his debt to society, he realistically probably received all of the punishment from his fellow inmates that child molesters typically get in jail. And then when he got out of jail, he would have a parole officer. He would have someone checking up on him. That's always the way that I thought that it worked. And of course, he would be a registered sex offender and would be on a database. I felt like that was enough. For years, I felt like that was enough. And I felt like I could forgive what happened. I know that sounds bizarre. I identify as a Christian. Jesus talked about forgiveness. And forgiveness is not for anyone but me. Forgiveness is not anyone's business but mine. What I choose to forgive is 100% up to me. And forgiving things, even horrible, heinous, disgusting, the worst thing that anyone could have ever done to me in my entire life, that brought me more peace than anything else in this situation. And I wish that I could have enjoyed that peace for longer than I did, because it felt great while it lasted. That forgiveness freed me from so much anger and pain while I was able to enjoy it. And then about 4 years ago, this piece of shit contacted me on Twitter. And you know, I hate mentioning it. I hate even mentioning it because he's probably still keeping tabs on me, and he's probably gonna watch this video, and that's probably gonna make him feel real powerful and good about himself, that he hurt me again, that he was able to have that control over me again, because that's what this shit is about. It's about control. And he contacted me on Twitter and sent me a trailer to a video about some people who live in a nudist park, and he told me, oh, you should have been in this movie. So I went to my therapist and I told her what happened, and legally she's required to report this. So I don't know. I hope that that made his life a little bit more difficult. I hope that his parole officer being informed of this instance alerted them that he was becoming emboldened and predatory. I don't know. I couldn't just not say anything, because even though talking to my therapist about it didn't really make it feel that much better, I couldn't not talk about it and risk him flying under the radar and then victimizing someone else because he was exhibiting these behaviors again. Maybe that whole thing sounds really bizarre to you. I don't know. I still don't know that going to court would make any difference. And statute of limitations is pretty complicated, and I don't know that my heart could handle going to court and losing. I don't know that I could take that. So for me, it's enough to know that he was probably gang raped by large inmates and served his time and now has his parole officer up his butt as well. But while it lasted, that forgiveness felt really good. And now I just have a bitter, angry heart again. That's my life. And I think by breaking down social stigma, so much progress can be made. For one, our mental health care system in this country is almost non-existent. It's prohibitively expensive to go to a therapist for many people, even when they do have insurance, and it's just downright impossible for a lot of people who don't have health insurance. And I've encountered that. I've encountered so many issues with getting mental health care and maintaining mental health care when I need it most. And when your copay is $50 a visit, that can really add up, especially when you're in your early 20s or your teens and trying to start out in life. And I think that is an issue that really needs to be addressed. Twofold. One, for the victims who need to deal with these instances, who need to deal with these issues, for just everyone in society in general who's neglecting their mental health because it's stigmatized, because it's inaccessible, because it's just not a priority for our healthcare system. And as much as this is going to rub people the wrong way, as much as this is going to sound completely twisted, for the pedophiles. Because If there are this many people out there, remember, 1 in 10 children is being sexually abused before they turn 18. If this is so prevalent that there are that many children being victimized by people who cross that line from mental illness to being predators, imagine just how many more people there are who might be out there who are dealing with the fact that they are pedophiles and they have nowhere to turn. They don't have a mental health care system that can help prevent them from becoming predators. And that's something that's really important to remember. Pedophilia is a mental illness. And when we let mental illness continue unchecked, that's when these people become dangerous and they become emboldened and they become predators. And right now, people who are able to get to the place mentally where they can recognize that they have this perversion and this issue and this sickness, when they get to that point, they might not be getting to a therapist before they become a danger. And when a therapist sees you, if they think that you're a risk to yourself or to others, they have to report you. And so where does that leave these people who are struggling with these feelings, who have not done anything wrong, who have not done anything wrong other than have these thoughts and these feelings? As disgusting as they are, as horrible and monstrous as they are, they've done nothing wrong. What is our mental health care system doing for those people to keep everyone else safe from them? Because if they feel like they will get thrown in jail just for having these thoughts and for seeking help, they're not going to seek help. And if they don't get help, then they become dangerous. So the one thing that can help victims and can help keep people from victimizing children is not available to them. That is so screwed up. And honestly, I'm pissed about it. Because just imagine how many children could be saved from these experiences, not just by keeping your kids safer, because you don't know. You don't know. This could be your brother, it could be your cousin, it could be your best friend. You don't know who is capable of victimizing your child. Because sexual predators are everywhere, and they don't look the same, and they don't fit the same pattern, and they're not predictable. Otherwise, your maternal and paternal instincts would be enough to prevent this crap from happening, but it's not. Being a good parent is not always enough to keep your kids safe, but you know what can keep your kids safe from child molesters? Mental health care that will keep pedophiles from becoming child molesters. Child molesters are the worst that humanity has to offer us. I don't want you to think that I have some weird twisted Stockholm syndrome and feel sorry for child molesters. I have zero sympathy for child molesters, but I recognize how these people get to where they are. I recognize that mental health care is severely lacking in this country, and I recognize that mental illnesses need to be treated to prevent pedophiles from becoming a threat and becoming offenders, and we need this mental health care to deal with the victims who slip through the cracks. I have health insurance, but my copay for seeing a therapist is $50 a visit. If I go once a week, that's what, $2,600 a year? That's insane. That really pisses me off because healthcare is a human right. I don't care where you're coming from politically. If you don't believe that people deserve to be cared for medically, and that includes mental health care, you're twisted. Especially in America, where we profess that people deserve a life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's really hard to pursue happiness when you're sick. Alright, got a little angry and derailed here. What else? And I'm one of the lucky people. I was able to spend years in therapy. I've dealt with a lot of this stuff. But you know what? It still hurts. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I can't imagine how people who have not had any access to mental health care deal with this stuff. And I can't bring myself to further examine whatever psychological issues tend to play out in the brain of someone who becomes a pedophile. I don't think people are born that way. I think they get broken, and I think if you dig a little deeper, you'll find a lot of pedophiles have trauma in their own childhoods, and they're broken and they're sick and they need to get better. I think that mental health care is the only solution to this situation, and it needs to be addressed. But in the meantime, I just want to do my part. I just want to put my experience out there and to share what I feel and what I've been through, because I know how isolating this can feel. And no matter how perversely ashamed I feel to be a victim, and no matter how much I hate being seen as a victim or even calling myself that, I need to put it out there. I need to share this experience because I know that there are other people who are silently going through the same thing and feel completely alone and feel as broken and screwed up as I do. And it's not your fault. We didn't do anything wrong, but the only thing that we can do is continue to take care of ourselves, continue to encourage mental health care wherever we live, because that's the only way we can heal from this, and that's the only way we can prevent this from happening to others, and to destigmatize this. If we never talk about this and we never bring it out into the light, it's never going to get better.